Hello and welcome to Aspire, Thrive, and Overcome ATO Unfiltered podcast. In here, we're doing a series about highlighting some of our own people, and I am most excited to be here with Miss Tiffany Beard, who has an amazing overcoming story that I cannot wait for you guys to hear. So I will not hesitate and I will just go ahead and get started with her because I know she has an amazing story to share with you guys. So, Miss Tiffany Beard,
Hello.
welcome to our
Thank you.
podcast.
Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it. So let's get right to it.
Yes, tell us your story, please, because I cannot wait for people to hear it.
So I guess when I think back over my life, and there's a part in the Bible where it talks about in Genesis, it talks about the story of Joseph and how he went from the pit to prison to the palace, and I just think about the pits. That pits are like he was in a pit of physical pits, but I think
Mm-hmm.
pits in life are just the things that the barriers in life that you face. So when I
Mm-hmm.
go back over my life, my barriers that I first remember is abandonment because my mother had
Okay.
me kind of young at a young age, and
Mm-hmm.
my grandparents kind of helped her a lot. So even though I was born in Houston, my mother moved to California,
Mm-hmm.
and so a lot of times I was sent from California to San Antonio to
Okay.
live with my grandparents, and but I really wanted to be with my mom. So at a
Right.
young age, I felt abandoned, like from my
Mm-hmm.
mom. Like, why do I come to San Diego and then I go back to San Antonio,
Mm-hmm.
and I really want to be with my mother. So my first thing was I felt abandonment and like I wasn't loved by my mother.
Mm-hmm. How
Uh,
old were you when this
um,
was happening?
I started going flying. Probably I was about 5 or 6.
Very young.
Yes, going
Okay.
back and forth to San Diego and San Antonio. I had went to school in California, then I went to school in San Antonio, then I go back. So back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
The second pit came when I was 9, and my mother's father passed away,
Okay.
and I was in San Antonio at the time with my maternal grandparents, and my grandfather drove me to Houston for my mother's father's funeral. And I stayed in Houston for about 4 or 5 days. During that time, I was sexually assaulted by a family member,
Mm.
um, and I remember crying when my mother and them came back, and I'm just crying, crying, and I'm like, I just need you to call. I want my grandfather. I want my grandfather, and
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't stop crying. So my mother then called my grandfather in San Antonio and said, I don't know why she's crying, and so I came back. My grandfather came back and picked me up and drove me back to San Antonio. For some reason, at that young age, at 9, I didn't even believe that my mom would believe me,
Okay.
even at that age, that she didn't believe me.
Mm-hmm.
So though that was a second pit for me, that
Wow.
I'm young and I'm already dealing with abandonment. I'm already being with sexually abused. I'm already feeling like I'm unloved. Fast forward until I'm like 12, and I go back to California in
Mm-hmm.
seventh grade, and I'm 6 feet tall, and I've been 6 feet tall since
Mm-hmm.
I was about 11 and a half, 12 years old.
Yes.
So it was very uncomfortable for me because I'm taller than all the girls,
Mm-hmm. You stood
most
out for
most
sure.
most of the boys,
Mm-hmm.
some of the teachers,
Mm-hmm.
and I got bullied a lot, not physically, but mentally and emotionally, because
Mm-hmm.
how you close to the sun, you look like Alice the Goon, you look Big Bird, like all these things
Mm.
that I just didn't want to, that I was young. I didn't know how to deal with that. And
Mm-hmm.
then to come back to San Diego, and then my mother is married and he has 2 kids and they're all living together. So that's more issues
Wow.
like, why wasn't I good enough to be with you, but you married somebody else and he has 2 kids and you guys are
Yes.
living, you know, this life. So I had all
Mm-hmm.
kind of issues that I'm trying to deal with at the age of 12, 13,
Extremely
14.
young. Yes.
Yes. And
That age is very confusing to begin with,
it
anyway.
is very
Yes.
so.
Yes.
And then I'm more mature looking, so I ended up getting pregnant at like 17 years old. Had my 16. I had my daughter, my first child at 17.
Wow.
Still just trying to navigate through life,
Mm-hmm.
understand. I remember I told my stepbrother about the sexual abuse, and he in turn, I swore him to secrecy. He did not know how to keep a secret, and he went and told my stepfather, who in
Mm-hmm.
turn told my mom. And I remember my mom and my uncle got into an argument. The one who did what he did,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't an argument. It wasn't for me. I didn't get any closure for that. I didn't feel protected. I didn't feel believed by
Mm-hmm.
by my mother. My uncle, of course, said he never did it, and
Mm-hmm.
so forth. So I kind of had another chip on my shoulder
Mm-hmm.
about that. Fast forward to I got married, and I don't. Sometimes we do stuff we just don't know why we be doing it. But I think looking back, I
Yes.
was looking for love, and
Mm-hmm.
in different places that I
Especially when you feel so broken for so many years.
exactly.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I got married, and then I don't know, it was just rough. We shouldn't have got married. We shouldn't have
Mm-hmm.
done any of that. But I have a beautiful son from that marriage, so
Okay.
I'm happy about
Yes.
that. But he left, and I remember that this apartment complex that I lived in, and I knew the people behind me did illegal activities. I just didn't know what. And
Mm-hmm.
at this time, I was like really broken mentally, emotionally, just financially. And I remember walking to their door, knocking on the door, and the lady answered, and I said, "I just need some help.
Mm-hmm.
I need to feed my children, and
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know what to do." And I remember the lady looked at me for a long time, and she
Mm-hmm.
said, "Well, come on in."
Mm-hmm.
And then when she took me into the back room, sort of like this place right here,
Mm-hmm.
and she showed me how to make IDs, and she showed me how to make checks and credit cards. And
Wow.
I was like, okay. I just, in my
It
mind, it
took a
was,
lot of courage for you to ask for help first, but then you get into that and you get involved with
so
those transactions.
yes. And I was like, okay, this is just so I can get my children and me in a better place. But of course,
Right.
that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up showing a friend of mine at the time something, and then she ended up getting caught, and then
Mm.
of course she told on me, so that was the first time I went to prison. I was about 22, 23, and I don't even know why I went to prison. I had never been in trouble before in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I get this case, and the first thing I get, they gave me, it was like they sent me to prison basically because, well, not basically, they did,
Mm-hmm.
but I had a case. It's kind of like when you're here in Houston and you have say you have the Heights, and then you have Greens Point in the different cities.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So because I had did some illegal activities in one part of the city,
Mm-hmm.
they charged me with a felony. And then they wouldn't charge me. They charged me separately for all the different cities within
Oh.
that county versus just
Mm-hmm.
one
Just
charge.
one, yes.
So when they charged me for it in this county, in
Mm-hmm.
this city,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they said, okay, we're gonna charge you this, but now we're gonna send you to prison. But
Mm-hmm.
I had never been in trouble, so they sent me to prison for the first time. I didn't even
And
get.
you have two kids at this
I have
point.
two kids. They're actually 2 and 7. So that's the first time I went to prison. Um, I got out, and I think I told a friend or somebody I knew, hey, I got to get on my feet. I'm finna start doing this until I can get on my feet.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to doing more illegal activities,
Mm-hmm.
to call myself to get on my feet.
Trying to survive.
Yes.
I mean, absolutely, yes.
Trying to get on my feet, listening to the things about, okay, you got a felony, you're not gonna be able to get a job anyway,
Mm-hmm.
Having to deal with probation parole, and then I called another case, a conspiracy case. I called it a conspiracy case.
Mm-hmm.
And no, go back. Before I called it a conspiracy case, I was on parole. So one of the things, my conditions of my parole was I could not have access to checks, credit cards, or bank accounts or anything because my first offense was a financial crime.
Yes.
So I remember the parole officer came to the house to do a home search.
Mm-hmm.
And he found, it was a wallet, brand new wallet on the counter. I don't know if it was my wallet, I don't know if it was my cousin's wallet, I don't know whose wallet it was. It was a brand new wallet. And back then, remember when they used to have those wallets? They used to have that little paper check that let you know where the checkbook go, and it
Yes,
says
yes,
void.
yes.
He saw that and flipped
Young
the
people
gasket.
don't know what that
They
is right
don't.
now.
He saw that and flipped the gasket. Oh, you're not supposed to have this. This is a violation. I'm like, this is it's not nothing. It's this.
Yeah.
If you go to any store right now, they're going to be in every wallet.
Yes.
So what he did was it's different from California and Texas law. So in California, your parole officer can arrest you. Your parole officer can do pretty much anything. They don't have to wait for the police or anything. So I was real upset with him. Like, you're gonna violate me for a paper like that's in his wallet. I don't even know whose wallet it is.
Right.
So he also, I said, well, let me make a phone call. He wouldn't let me use the phone. Like, I need to call somebody and let them know, hey, can you pick up my children, because I'm obviously finna go into custody. He wouldn't let me use the phone or anything. So he ended up, I said, I'll just use the phone when I get to the county. So I don't know what his issue was, but he did not take me to the county. Like, usually the procedures, they take you to the county, you stay in the county for a week or two, and then the county transports you to prison. He didn't. He didn't want me to use the phone, whatever the case may be.
Yes.
He drove me from San Diego to Chino, which is an hour and 40-minute ride to the prison, and intaked me at the prison itself. Because once you get to the prison, you can't use the phone. You're on receiving. You can't use the phone. You can't do any of that. And till this day, I have no idea why that man did that. So that made me have another, dislike for the criminal justice system or whatnot. That was the second time.
It feels like it wasn't fair.
It really was.
And you have no explanation, and it wasn't even your wallet, and then you're all confused, but.
Then I was concerned about my children. Like, you didn't even have enough consideration for my, to let me just call somebody and say, make sure you pick up my children. So that was the second time. Then it was, of course, I went on to prison 3 more times after that. And every time I got out, I'm like, I'm going to do something different. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do that. And every time I didn't, by this time I was just caught up in insanity, doing the same thing, expecting different results.
It's like a cycle.
The cycle.
Yes, you can get stuck in the cycle, yes.
I got into selling drugs. I've done right. It's like, I've done a lot looking back over my life. Like, I've done a lot. Some things I'm still asking God to forgive me for, right now, today. So we fast forward to being the last time I went to prison. And I remember waking up in the cell, which was real small, at this particular CIW is a women's prison. It's the first women's prison, so it's small, no AC. It's just terrible.
You don't wish it on anybody.
Not anybody. It's around some ranches, so you're smelling animals and all that stuff all day and night, and it's just a mess. But I remember waking up, and I looked over at the window, and I seen like the barbed wire on there, and then I looked at the door. And got the little window on it, and I just was like, this is just too much. And I remember getting ready to go to breakfast. So you go to breakfast. If you want your lunch, you have to go to breakfast to get your lunch. You get they give you a sack lunch, whatever. So I was like, okay, today I'm gonna go to breakfast because I want they had eggs and tomatoes in the lunch that day. So that was kind of like a treat, right?
Wow.
Boiled eggs and tomatoes. So, okay, let me go to lunch. So I remember I go to breakfast, and I'm just like in this really, foul mood. And I'm telling my friend that I said, man, I still have 16 months left to do in here. And she was like, it's all right, friend. I still have like 3 years left. And then there's an older lady behind me, and she's like, I understand. I've been here for 30 years. And I kind of said some real foul things to her about stay out of my business and by talking to you, whatever. So I got my lunch, went back to the room, and I remember my ex-boyfriend at the time, we get our meal in the morning time. So I got the mail, and he was like, man, I've been down for 8, 9, 10 years, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to even hear that. I threw the letter to the side. Then I had a pen pal that write me, and he was like, hey, you know what, I'm 7 years in on a 40-year bid. I'm like, oh Lord, I really don't want to hear that. I just don't want to hear that. And so I got up, got ready to go. I work for the fire department.
Okay.
So I got up, put my turnouts on, and went down to the fire. and the chief wasn't there to let us in the gate, so that irritated me.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to my room. Everybody like, where you going? I'm going back to my room. So I go back to my room. Then my door pop about 10 minutes later. And the CEO's yelling down the hall, Beard, your boss wants you at the firehouse. So I go back to the firehouse. They talking to me, and I just start busting out crying. And they're like, our captain is more mature guy. He was like, oh no, I do not want to see a woman cry. Just go back to your room. I'm like, thank you. So I go back to my room, and I'm in my room, and then the door pops again. I'm like, man, why they keep popping this door? So I'll go out the door. My fire captain is walking down the fire chief is walking down the hall. He's like, Beard, come with me. So I go with him, and we get in the truck, and he's driving around the prison, and we pull up at the mental health trailer. I said, why are we here? He's like, maybe you just need to talk to somebody. I said, I don't want to talk to none of them, because all they want to do is put me on some psych meds and take my gate pass. I had a gate pass, which means I could leave out the prison. We would do exercises and stuff outside the prison or whatnot. I didn't want to lose my clearance.
Your privileges, yeah.
Yeah, so he was like, so I go in there, and I have an attitude for real. So I go in there, and I'm talking to this, bring some little young girl in there. Like, now I'm 38, she's 22. So I'm already looking at her like, what are we about to talk about?
Right.
Like, what are you going to tell me?
Right.
Have you been
How
involved?
can you help me?
Yeah,
Yes.
have you been involved in any gang activities? No. Have you had a child out of wedlock at a young age? No. Have you done it?
Have you been abandoned?
Have you been anything? What have you done?
Yes.
What are we going to talk about?
Yes.
So I asked her, I said, you free, right? And she's like, yes. I said, if you want to, you can get up right now and walk out that gate, right? She's like, yeah. Eat what you want, wear what you want, whatever, right? She said, yeah. I said, with that said, have you ever woke up and had a bad day? And she's like, yeah. I said, so what makes you think because I'm in prison, I can't wake up and have a bad day? And she just sat there and looked at me for a while. She's like, you're right. And she wrote me they call them lay-ins, where I could just stay in my room for 3 days. I'm like, thank you, because I don't want to be bothering nobody. So I went in my room, and then like the next day, that's when I just got on my knees and I prayed to God, and I was like, God, this is my 5th time in prison. I just know you have to have something better for me in my life than coming in and out of here. And if there's nothing better for me out there, then just go ahead and give me a life sentence right here, right now.
Oh.
Because I don't want to, because it's easy to catch more cases while you're in prison. I'm like, I don't want to just keep coming back in here, hurting myself, hurting my children. Like, I just don't want to do it. So I remember later on, I went out to the yard, and I seen the older lady that I had said some unfavorable things to early, and I apologized to her. I said, that's not even how I was raised. I don't even act like that, but I just really want to, that I apologize. I'm just trying to deal with this. And she said, I understand. And she's like, let me pray for you.
Wow.
And she prayed for me, and she's like, I don't know what, but God is telling me that you're going to help a lot of people. She's like, I have no idea, but you're going to help. He's telling me he's going to help a lot of people. And I believe that you will. And so I gave her a hug and whatnot, and finished up my 16 months, and paroled November 6, 2006, when I walked out of prison, and with $200 in my pocket, and didn't have any idea what I was gonna do or.
Right. I want to make a small pause here, because something that I have chills in you right now, but because you went back to that lady, that you said some things to her, and you knew you were wrong, you knew you were having a bad day, you knew, you had a tough life at this point, you had so many injustices in your life and things like that, and you still went back and apologized to her. No, like, you didn't make your life, your situation, your circumstances, your past, you did not make it an excuse not to do the right thing. And that's just something that I admire all the time, because it doesn't matter how bad we have it, how bad of a day we are. That is not an excuse not to do the right thing, not to be kind to people, and not to show our true selves. Because yes, you can have a bad day, you can have a bad life, you can have a bad situation, a bad upbringing, but that was a brave, very courageous choice that you made. And then this lady came back to you and prayed for you and told you some things that I'm pretty sure they're coming up right now, and then I cannot wait, but that is just I think that could be a turning point, just doing the right thing in the midst of feeling lost and broken. So I just wanted to make that pause because I think that's something so admirable for in human beings that we have that choice
Right.
to do the right thing and to still show kindness regardless of our situation and how bad we feel. So go ahead.
Yes, I did.
That's just
Yeah, I did go back and apologize because I didn't. You know, my grandparents they didn't raise me to be like that, and it was just in the moment, and it wasn't her fault. You
Yeah.
know, so I needed to go apologize. I needed to go make that right with her because it wasn't. You know, I know she didn't mean anything by it. You know,
Right.
she was trying to be encouraging. So,
Mhm.
back to when I paroled, I didn't have any idea what I was gonna. Really have no idea what I was gonna do. Somebody I knew, I ran into them. They're like, "Well, I can help you get a job, but it's at a deli. And it's like making $6.75 an hour." And I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." So I humbled myself and went and worked in this deli at this grocery store called Albertsons. And
I remember those.
and I worked in the deli, and so I worked there, and then it was another job. Me and my brother went and applied for this other job. It had to do with help clean up the downtown cities, right? I think they kind of have that program here now too in Houston.
Okay.
But it's kind of clean up the city. I remember we went down there, and it was what people call felony friendly people. They hired people with felonies, so everybody was down there. And I remember when the lady called me back and said, "You know, would you want to come down and do your background check and take your UA?" And I did that. She's like, "We don't have a problem with people with felonies, but we still want to know what people have done." So I was like, okay. So they offered me the job. I think I made gonna make $10 an hour. I really didn't have any. There was a lot going on. I was during that period. It was like I was living with my sister, and then that didn't work out. So I was was homeless for a minute, where I slept in a abandoned building, and I just prayed to God, like, just keep me covered, because I made a promise to him in that cell that when I got out, that if he helped me stay on the right track, if he opened doors for me, that I would never do another criminal act again. So I ain't gonna say God put me to the test, but I'm gonna say the universe definitely put me to the test, because it was times where I wanted to be like, you know what, I'm about to just go do whatever. I know how to do this. I know how to sell dope. I know how to do checks and credit cards.
And that's an easy thing to do.
Yes,
that is the easiest thing to do.
It would have been the easiest thing.
And
to
you
do.
knew that, so.
But I also knew I didn't want to go back to prison anymore.
Absolutely.
After
it's a choice.
Yes, after 5 times. I also knew that the cards of society said the cards were stacked up against me. And so I went to a point when I was homeless, you know, slept in an abandoned apartment, and on the floor. I remember when I had got, and this is when Arnold was governor in California, and he just did things differently. And so, you know, people wasn't getting paid and this and that. So I remember I left the job, that one job I had, and I went to another job, and at the St. Vincent de Paul, and they had this like a homeless shelter, and but it had like 3 different parts to it. It was really a wonderful program for people. But I remember I was so stressed out with just trying to live life, not do any crimes, and I went to see a psychiatrist. And the lady said, "I think you just don't need to work right now." And I was like, "Well, if I don't work, then I'm gonna be doing some criminal activities."
Right.
And she's like, "No, we're gonna put you on. I'm gonna put you on SSDI or something." So I was like, "Okay, I don't know how that worked, but okay, you know." So then in the process,
gotta eat though.
in the process of her doing that, my job fired me because it was a lack of communication. I had sent my supervisor the what's that called? The doctor's note. I mean, to be off
Okay.
work for 3 days,
Mm-hmm.
for 4 days, and she ended up not forwarding it to the people she was supposed to forward it to,
Mm-hmm.
and she left and went on vacation. So they thought that I was,
They just left.
I had just left,
Mm-hmm.
and they fired me. I'm like, that's not what happened. But by then it was like, well, I'm like, okay, fine.
Mm-hmm.
But the psychiatrist said, well, that's even better for you because now you can file for unemployment.
Okay.
So I said, okay. So I filed for unemployment.
Some things are turning around.
Yeah, so I filed for unemployment.
Yes.
But go back to Arnold in office, everything. Anyway,
Mhm.
I didn't get these checks.
Okay.
The check in the mail.
Ooh.
And I was just like, okay, what am I supposed to do?
Mm-hmm.
I found an apartment. The lady wanted the money. And I was like, I don't have the money. I'm waiting for the checks. It was like sleeping in my car. I had a car, sleeping in my car.
Mm-hmm.
But I would not do anything wrong.
Yes.
And I remember that my aunt was like, let's go play. So I went to stay with my cousin. My cousin said, come stay with, I want to stay with her. Then she got into a situation where she got into something with the person downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
It was a knife involved.
Ooh.
We went to court. The judge said, what you guys gonna do? Because y'all are neighbors. And my cousin, before, I'm just gonna move. Like, how are you gonna move? Like, where am I gonna go?
Yes.
So I went back to sleeping in my car for a few days. And I remember my auntie said, let's just go to bingo. So I'm like, I don't have money for that. She's like, no, let's go. So I went to bingo, and I kept saying, I kept the key to my cousin's mailbox because I didn't want to change my address in the midst of all that going on. And so the whole time I was at bingo with my auntie, something kept saying, go to the mailbox, go to the mailbox. And I was like, I don't want to go to the mailbox. I done been every day. This lady said she's going to get us an apartment away tomorrow if I don't have the money, yada, yada. Anyway, I went to the mailbox, and lo and behold, it was 4 checks in there.
Wow.
It was 4 checks. And I ran the next day and took the money to the lady and got the apartment. I have nothing in the apartment.
God is never late.
Never. He's always on time.
Yes.
And I remember that I didn't have money, so my unemployment was like $9.50 a month, and my rent was $8.75.
Wow.
Right. So I remember they opened up this Little Caesars. To this day, I eat Little Caesars pizza. I'm gonna go always and forever. When they opened up a Little Caesars pizza, and I said, well, if I buy this Little Caesar pizza, I can eat on this for a couple of days, right? So they had just opened this Little Caesars. They opened up the box. They said, if you open up the box and you have a star, you get a free pizza on the next visit. So I got home, had my pizza. After a couple of days, boom, I had a star, right?
Wow.
So I took it back, got a pizza, ate that for a few days, had another star. I must have got about 5 stars. And the manager kept saying, where are you? How you keep getting these stars on these boxes? I was like, I don't know. You guys are giving them to me. I said, but, God was providing a way.
There's always a way.
For me to eat. And I remember there's a store called Save a Lot. And I went in there and I bought like a bag of beans for like 50 cents and some rice for like another 50 cents, like a pack of chicken for $2. I never like really been a bean eater, but I became a bean eater then. I'm like, this is going to stretch for a few days. So I went through a lot of things like that. And then one day, I was like, I need to do something. What I'm gonna do to better my life. So I was like,
life was going well, but you knew
it wasn't. I was
you
still
wanted
struggling because I was still
right.
I
Still
had
looking
an
for
empty
50
apartment.
cents. Yes.
Yes, So I was going to go to school. I was nervous about going to school because I was always told I was dumb, stupid. I wasn't smart. So when I enrolled in City College, I didn't know how I was going to be because I got these in my head that I'm going to be
labels and doubts.
So I started school, realized that I liked school, realized that I wasn't dumb and stupid. So some things started turning around that I thought, but then here a bunch of things started happening where it's like making me want to feel like, okay, I'll have to go back and do some criminal activities. But I don't want to, so I'm like, okay, God, what I'm going to do, because now this check has stopped. I don't know why it stopped, because it's only getting it for like 3 months. And the lady said I still had money available, but because of all the all the stuff that was going on in the state of California, stuff was stopped. Like, what I'm gonna do? I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna do nothing wrong, but I definitely need this financial aid that's getting ready to come. However, because previously years when I act like I was gonna go to school for 2 days and went to school for 2 days and then dropped out and didn't do anything, it was like, we're gonna put you on probation for this time.
Yes.
So I'm on probation. In order that probation, I got to make sure I stay in order to get the financial aid. So now I had some troubles with my car. I probably lived about 30 minutes from campus. I didn't have no money for to get to school, whatever. So classes started dropping. I'm like, I really need to get to school, because if I don't, I'm not gonna get this financial aid. If I don't get this financial aid, I don't know what's gonna happen. So I remember I told my one friend, hey, can you tell the teacher I'm coming? I'm going through a tough time, but I'll be there like in a couple of days. That was my whole plan. Anyway, the couple of days turned into about 2 or 3 weeks, right? So I finally got some, I think a part of a check came, and I got was able to put gas and stuff in my car, and I go to school. 2 teachers said, we dropped you. I was like, wow. Went to the other teacher, and she's like, man, I just dropped you 2 days ago. So I'm like, I got 1 teacher left. What am I said, I might as well just go on,
probably dropped you too.
Yeah, I might as well just go on and see if I can't find somebody and start picking up where I left off and go. And something said, go to the teacher. So I go over there, and he's standing outside. And I said, did you drop me? And he said, no, I didn't drop you. He says, your friend said some things were going on, and I didn't drop you. I had took his class previously, and he said, you wasn't missing any classes. He said, so I felt like something was going on. He said, but if you stay and you make up the work and pass the final, then you'll be good. So I went in class and I made up the work, and I did pass the final. I think he gave me a C, and he said he gave me a C not because I had missed the days. So, but hey, it was passing. I was okay. I was gonna get the financial aid, but
I'll grab onto that thread.
Yes, but unbeknownst to him, if he would have told me no, I would have went back into doing all that little moment made me realize, okay, there's hope. I can still hang on. And I grabbed on that piece of hope with everything I had. I got a chance to found another job, started going to school, decided maybe California is really not the place for me. You know, my daughter had got married, and she had moved to San Antonio with her husband. I said, that might be an omen. She's moving, not an omen, but something positive. She's moved to the place that I grew up in. So
you were familiar,
Yeah, so I moved to Texas, and got a internship at the Gesture unit as a counselor. I went on to get my bachelor's degree. Then I went on and something I never thought I would do. I got a master's degree.
Wow.
I became an author. I wrote a book, wrote 2 books actually. One of the jobs I had was I used to have to go to court with the people that came out of this program called the Safe P program. And I would go to court with them, and I used to just be in awe every time I went to court, because I didn't have to go through the metal detectors. I went through the side where the lawyers went through. And I would...
That was different for you.
Yes, definitely different. And even going in the judge's chambers and talking to the judge and asking the judge, hey, he's asking me my opinion, or do you want some coffee? Can I, I've had a judge make me coffee before, bring me a bottle of water. I'm like, this is so different. Like, I'm used to being the one
on the other side.
Yeah, begging for my life. Now I'm begging for other people's lives. And I remember I had this one client, and the probation officer was dead set on sending him back to prison because he had a dirty UA.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, why is the first thing you want to do is send him back to prison? He's 45. He's been in prison, in and out of prison since he was 18. Why not offer him something different? And the probation officer was like, nah. He said, if you want it, you tell the judge. I said, I don't have a problem with that. So I wrote the judge an email, sent it to him. And the judge, he didn't email me back. He actually called me.
Wow.
And he said, I agree with you. He said, I agree with you. I don't think he needs to go back to prison. We're gonna put him in treatment. You know, you just said he just got a job. He just, just found a stable place to live. So we're not gonna mess that up. We're gonna give him a chance. We're gonna put him in outpatient treatment, and we're gonna make him do the outpatient treatment, and let's see where this goes. And he said, the judge thanked me. I appreciate you for, speaking up for somebody. And I was like, okay, good. And I told the guy, like, look, you better make sure you do what you're supposed to do, And I end up leaving that job, so I'm not sure what happened to him, but I'm praying that, he hopefully changed his life around. After I received my master's degree, somewhere in there, I got this bright idea that I could be a doctor. So I wrote in my PhD program.
Chills. I got chills. It's incredible. Yes.
Yeah, I wrote in a PhD program, and I became Dr. Beard August 15th of 2022.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yes.
What a story of hope. My mind is just blown, and I want to ask so many questions, but one of the curiosities, I guess it is for me, in stories like yours, Tiffany, is what kept you from not doing the wrong thing and keep fighting for yourself? Really, what was the thing that you kept telling yourself every time that you could go? Because it would be, like we mentioned before, it would be easier to go back to what you knew how to do illegally and go back to prison and stuff. What got you out of that circle, like vicious circle?
So for me, I made promises to God before. I'm pretty sure we all have. Over, we always break them or whatnot. But for that day in that cell, when I said, God, I don't want to come back to prison. I meant that. I really meant in my heart that, God, I do not want to come back. And if you got to have something better for me than this.
Yes.
You have to.
Absolutely.
If you don't, then just let me stay here. I don't want to keep doing this. I want to be out there with my children. I want to be with my grandchildren. I don't want to do this. And I want my children to be proud of me. I don't want them to, I just don't want to be living the rest of my life like this. And I had a friend, she was a little bit older than me, but she was in and out of prison. I kept saying, I think her mother passed away. I think my friend was like, I was 39. She was probably about 50 something, almost 50 then. And I said to myself, I don't want to be in prison at 50. And I was like, okay, God, I ain't been super religious, but I know I read the Bible. And I know faith without works is dead. So if I work it, you're going to have to open up these doors. And I'm not going to do anything illegal, no matter what the circumstances is. So for some reason, I held on to the fact that I held on to that promise not to do anything illegal, no matter what.
Yes.
And that my faith at that time is what kept me from doing illegal activities. And it was many times that I felt life made me feel like, just go ahead and it'd be easier to do this.
Yes.
But I didn't. I held on to, because I would never know what's at the end if I stopped in the middle.
Right.
If I would have went and did something wrong, I wouldn't probably be here talking to you right now.
Right.
So to go back to that teacher though, who I felt like gave me a lifeboat that day. I never forgot. And that was my AA degree. And I left California. So like I said, I got my bachelor's degree, I got my master's degree, and I got my doctorate degree, but I never forgot that teacher. So as soon as they told me I was Dr. Beard, I went to the City College website, and I looked his name up.
Mm-hmm.
He was still there because I was fear-minded. He wasn't there anymore, but
Yes.
he was still there. And I immediately booked me a flight to San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
I had this little journal made. Well, go back. The front of my dissertation, where you have your dedication page, your acknowledgement page, I thank God, I thank my mother, I thank my two children individually, and then I had a paragraph where I thanked him in the front of my dissertation, unbeknownst to him. So
this whole time he did not know what kind of impact he had in your life.
No.
Okay.
So when I got to San, and I had a journal made for him, a silver journal, and it was engraved, and it says, Mr. T, because of you, I am Dr. Beard today.
Oof.
And I remember I went to City College, and I went to his classroom. He wasn't there, and I'm waiting outside. And I asked the lady, "Is this his?" She's like, "Yeah." She's like, "He's normally in there." She's like, "Maybe he's coming." So then he came walking down the hallway. Still looks the same. Still just whatever. And what I handed him was the front page of my dissertation. I said, "Can you read this?" And he read the front page of the dissertation, and he kind of looked up at me, and I was like, "Yes, sir." I said, "That day you gave me a life vest. I was struggling." I said, "If you would have dropped me, I would have went back out, because all hope would have been out the window, and you didn't. And with that hope, I held on to it, and I didn't want to take it for granted. I didn't want to take it in vain, and I just pushed through everything I needed to push through. And I just really wanted to thank you." And he said, "Can I give you a hug?" And I gave him I said yes. He gave me a hug, and a tear dropped out of his eye, and he's like, "This is just amazing and wonderful. I don't even know what to say." But he said to me, "I always believe in doing what I can to help a person, because you never know what a person is going through."
Right. And you have gone through a lot. Allergies are a little that is just I need a moment to breathe. But it throughout your story of after you saw that hope from Mr. T, and after you got out of prison the last time, I think something that I think is a common thread is that you kept focusing on the positives. You kept focusing on, I got this one check, I got this one thing, I got this one pizza, I got this one star, I got this one, so, and it's focusing on those, because it would have been so easy to, it's like, well, yeah, I have this one thing, but what about these other things that I don't have, all these opportunities that I didn't get, what about all the unfairness that's still happening around my life? But you kept focusing on the little good things that you knew was gonna get you to what you knew you deserved. Because I think a lot of us, we know that we deserve better, but then we see the opportunities that are in front of us, and we're like, and everything is a choice. Like I said, we can choose to hold on to that hope and to that good thing, or say, well, you know what, it's easier to do this, I'll just do it for a little bit, just one last time. But it takes a lot of courage to stay focused and to, like I said, do the right thing and stay truth and faithful to that hope, to God, to the star on the pizza box, to whatever it took.
Yes.
And then for people around you to make that kind of impact. Like I said, this teacher, he didn't know how your life was going to turn around. So we obviously grateful, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of us that we have overcome, we have that one person that changed our future, that changed our lives, and not just yours, the people around you, your kids, and now the people that you're impacting with everything. Tell us about your books. Is that something that it's out there, or is that something that we can get our hands on? Because I cannot.
So I have a book that
inspiration.
I have a book that I wrote. It's called "Accepting an Apology You May Never Receive," and it's just based on different parts of my life where I talk about where I felt like people owe me an apology, and what do you do when you don't receive it? Because how many apologies did we feel like people owe us? But when I wrote the book, I went around to different people and coworkers, and I'm like, if you want an apology from anybody, who would it be? And parents,
Wow.
people said their parents, they would want apologies from their parents. And but I didn't I did write about parents,
Yes.
but I didn't start it off
It's a
with
big
parents.
part of our lives, yes,
Yes.
for sure.
So I talk about how I started about chapter one is on God, my faith, and then chapter two is prayer, and then chapter three is forgiving ourselves, because a lot of times we don't know how to forgive ourselves for the things that we do to ourselves or the things that we allow people to do to us.
The
So
choices that we take.
yes, forgiving ourselves and then forgiving others. And then I went into, the parents, my uncle that molested me, and I went into all that. I talk about how I apologized to my uncle, and people are like, why you apologize to him? I apologize to him because, um, just because I don't like you, you did something you shouldn't have done. That just because your name is mentioned, I don't have to cuss you out. I don't have
Right.
to do all of that. I don't have to do anything.
You don't have to hold that
I don't
hate
have to hold
and
that
anger inside of you.
Because vengeance is mine, saith the Lord.
Yes.
So I don't have to do any of that. I could just walk away or not choose to talk about it or anything. I said, so that's what I apologize to him for. Now, I apologize to, about, and then if you don't, then at the end of each chapter is questions that you ask yourself about certain situations. And then I said, if you don't, if you have a problem with this chapter, then go back to chapter 1 and 2.
Ooh. Truth bomb right here. Yes, yes.
And then the other book was a journal, just to getting to know yourself, because in life and being a parent, being a grandmother, being a teacher, being whatever in life,
yes,
you kind of forget who you are. So the journal is about getting back to you. What's your favorite music? What's your favorite food?
Right.
What do you like? It's getting back, back to you. So those are things that that I have. Those are on Amazon. But I never thought I would do that. So that's something that I did, that I can say I done. I got like 3 more books sitting on my computer that I haven't even did anything with, because I felt like I did something that society said I couldn't do.
Right.
I did
big statement right here.
That society said I would never be anything because I've been to prison on 5 different occasions.
Because your cards were stacking up. You said that earlier. Yes.
That society said I couldn't never get a job. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that. I wouldn't be able to do that. And I'm here to tell you, societies did not tell the truth.
It does not. It does not. I present to you Dr. Tiffinny Beard here in front of us. I was dying to say it in the beginning, but I couldn't because I knew the story was good. I didn't know it was this good. Ms. Tiffany, you have truly, Dr. Beard, you have truly moved me personally, and I know that people that are going to watch this episode are going to feel the same way. And I really, really want to thank you for sharing that, getting vulnerable and telling your story of hope, of holding on, of forgiveness. If I can get those links for your books, I will put them down in here in this podcast so that people can get inspired too. And we'll be waiting for your other books to be published, because I know that's going to be something that that's going to come, because you have a lot. People need that. People need that hope. People need and your book can be your Mr. T for other people. So I really want to thank you for sharing your story. And thank you guys for listening, and we hope that you enjoyed. If you have any questions, any comments, I will put some of the information for contact information in here. We are Aspire, Thrive, and Overcome, and we are so thankful that you're here. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.